The story up to this point, Disney has been the leader in the theme park game pretty much ever since the existence of the theme park. That is, up until about 10 years ago, when out of nowhere, Universal entered the chat and threw their hat into the ring for the number one spot. This came off the heels of Universal opening the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which Disney took several years to respond to in any sort of meaningful way, allowing Universal to build not just one land, but 2 lands across both of their Orlando theme parks and gobble up a ton of market share completely unmitigated. Disney took a wait-and-see reactionary approach to the opening of the Harry Potter lands, and it cost them dearly. Had they been proactive and built their own impressive lands to come out around the same time as the Harry Potter lands, they could have mitigated and lessened the amount of growth that Universal saw, or completely halted it in the first place, keeping Universal as a 1 or 2 day part of a Disney World week-long trip. Disney left the door open, and not only did Universal take advantage, but they smell blood in the water. They recognize that, hey, it's not impossible for us to take the top spot. And Universal has gone into complete overdrive mode trying to obtain just that. Opening up next year, yes, next year, is Universal's Epic Universe, their 3rd Orlando theme park. On top of that, they also have a brand new young families focused theme park opening up just outside of Dallas, Texas. And they also have a Halloween Horror Nights experience opening up in Las Vegas. They are expanding at a rapid rate. This is all on top of the stuff that they're doing at the existing parks, which is quite astronomical, as I've laid out in previous videos. But the reason why I brought you all here today is because, folks, the list doesn't end there. Universal has not just put the pedal to the metal, they've literally put it through to the bottom of the tarmac. They are going extremely hard and spending an absurd amount of money to come at Disney's next, because they know that not only is Disney weak, but they aren't investing money in the parks. And what has Universal done this time to come for Disney's lunch? Well, it's Universal Studios Great Britain, their 4th international theme park outside of the United States. And this is confirmed, this is not a rumor. Universal is in the early stages of development and has already bought the land for which the property will be built on. This location in the city of Bedford will be about an hour and a half north of London, although I've seen some British news channels claim it's only 45 minutes, so maybe they know some secret pathways that Google Maps doesn't. And you can even take the train pretty much directly there in about the same amount of time. So it's within reasonable transit time from London, but maybe not as close as you would maybe expect them to want to be. Maybe you would want to be closer to the big city center. But actually, let me tell you, this location is a bit more strategic than you might realize. Because also within an hour and a half driving distance is Birmingham, which is part of the West Midlands metropolitan area, which happens to be the 3rd most populous region within the United Kingdom. And given this north of London location, it actually puts this proposed Universal Studios Great Britain Park within a 2-hour drive of half of the United Kingdom's entire population. A population, mind you, that are proven theme park fans, as there are several well-attended theme parks in the country. But none of them are really of Universal or Disney quality, with even the top among them being Alton Towers, still being a far cry away from the level of theming and immersion and diversification of rides that Universal or Disney might provide. Now, there is still a lot of red tape and even some potential big decisions that Universal has to make before this park will eventually open. In fact, remember that Las Vegas Halloween Horror Nights attraction that I mentioned earlier? Well, apparently it's rumored that they might be opening one of those up in the UK before the theme park opens, not only to build up some hype, but also to gauge audience interest and see if the UK audience actually is as interested in Universal as we might think they will be. So, if this does come to fruition, what does it mean for the Universal Disney war that we love to talk about around here? Well, a lot of people have already mentioned the obvious, which is that, like I mentioned earlier, there isn't really a Universal or Disney quality park in the UK. So a lot of people from the UK actually take the trip across the English Channel over to Paris to visit Disneyland Paris. If a park of that quality was to be built within driving distance of these people in the UK, well, they wouldn't feel the need to pay for a flight and a hotel by going all the way over to Disneyland Paris. And yeah, that scares Disney a little bit, but really, that's not the thing they're worried about. The thing that they are most concerned about is the fact that Orlando gets a ton of UK visitors every year. And not only do they come down to Orlando in droves, but they stay for an exceptionally long amount of time. Both Disney and Universal will offer 14-day ticket offers for an extremely low price in order to make sure that when they do spend their holidays in Orlando, that they're spending majority of time, if not all of their time, at their park and not their competitors. And why are these UK visitors so lucrative compared to the average guest, and why do they give them such great ticket offers? Well, it's because when you come to the parks for 14 days, guess what? That's spending money on 14 days worth of food. That's spending money on 14 days worth of souvenirs and merchandise. That's 14 days of spending money on a hotel. And if Universal or Disney can get a UK visitor to spend all of that money just with them, they've made a ton of money just off that one group or party that maybe would have taken them several groups visiting domestically to make up that amount of cash. However, by Universal building a theme park in the UK, it would almost certainly disincentivize UK visitors from spending their holiday in Orlando. Why spend all that time and money going to Orlando when you already have a park of that quality in your backyard that you can visit for majority of the year? Yes, during the winter, it's a pretty good chance that this UK park would likely be closed or limited in operations, and maybe that would actually still keep some UK visitors coming. I would imagine that a lot of UK visitors would still come, but you could be easily looking at a 50%, maybe even more reduction in how many UK visitors come over. If a park like this were to actually exist, there'd be a lot less reason and a lot less incentive for guests from the UK to plan that sort of trip. And instead, maybe they'll go to the Caribbean or somewhere else that's warm. They don't need to do a theme park trip when they have a theme park of that quality in their own country. So by doing this, even though Universal is making those UK visitors a little less lucrative, what they are doing is saying, hey, we're going to take them all though. They're going to come to our parks and none of them are going to come to Disney. We're going to cut them off from Disneyland Paris and we're going to cut them off from Disney World in Orlando, Florida. And now that's where Disney is getting worried because they are losing out on significant revenue streams in these two parks that used to come from foreign visitors. I mean, you talk about something like Halloween Horror Nights in Las Vegas. Well, that's just really a growth lever for Universal. That's not something that's directly coming for Disney's attendance. Building a theme park in Great Britain would actively come for the people who visit Disney and turn them into Universal visitors. Combine this with all the other things Universal has going on, and Disney is in for a world of hurt through the end of the decade. Unless Disney has learned their lesson from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and has actually come up with a proactive approach to combat the projects that Universal has in place. And I am pleased to tell you that Disney does indeed have a game plan. Let's take a look at their future slate of new attractions. And that means we're counting down the top 10 new attractions coming to the Disney parks. First up, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, opening this year at both Disneyland and Disney World. And that's it. That should have us covered, right, guys? Like I think we're good with just that. That should take care of all this Universal business that's going on, right? Yes, they do have some major stuff happening at their international parks, but those aren't really going to do much to stop what Universal's up to right now that's coming for Disney's lunch. Like, yeah, maybe their international parks do a little bit better, but that's not going to be enough to save Disney from the onslaught headed its way. Like, I didn't even make a video about D23 this past year because it was literally the exact same presentation that they gave at D23 in 2022. They once again mentioned Tiana's Bayou Adventure, then had nothing else to announce, and then just threw a bunch of ideas at the wall, said, hey, we're gonna get rid of Dial-Land, hey, we're gonna get rid of It's Tough to Be a Bug, but then didn't say we're actually doing it. They're just saying like, oh, these are some ideas we have. Like, why even have a parks update panel if you're just gonna go out there and embarrass yourself by saying like, hey guys, we swear we've been doing some work, we've been thinking about some stuff, but we just don't know if we're gonna do it yet or not. Like, bro, just don't even get up on the stage. You'd be better off not saying anything than going up there and saying, hey guys, look at this, look what we made, isn't that cool? Like, no, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. You're out here pitching ideas to the audience while Universal's actually building stuff. It's sad, okay? Just stop. So yeah, history is about to repeat itself, folks. Disney is taking the reactionary approach. They literally have no game plans at the domestic parks post 2024. Nothing, nada, zilch. And it seems like the whole thing is heading towards another major, massive boom in growth for Universal, as we saw when the Wizarding World of Harry Potter opened. Now, I'm sure the people who work in the Disney Parks division know they're in trouble. They know the hurt that's headed their way. But ultimately, there's nothing they can really do about it. Despite the fact that the Disney Parks division is by far not only the highest revenue maker as far as an individual segment within Disney's company goes, but also the highest profit maker in the company by a long shot. Disney has no intention on reinvesting money into the parks in order to grow that side of the business. Instead, they're more concerned about taking the money that the parks are bringing in and funneling it into their less successful parts of their business, like streaming, like the studio business, which was a complete disaster this year, mind you, losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Meaning that Disney is currently of the mindset that they're only going to invest money in the parks when they absolutely need to. And hey, once Epic Universe opens, once these regional theme park plays from Universal opens, once Universal Great Britain opens, you know that Disney is going to need the help. So yeah, likely within a couple years after Epic Universe has started to take its toll on the Disney World parks, I'm sure that we'll start to see some actual major reinvestments come to the parks. But at that point, you know how long it takes Disney to build new things? I mean, you saw it with Tron. That thing took like 5 years to build. A roller coaster that was a clone, something they already built overseas. That should have taken like 1-2 years at best, and instead it took them forever. Imagine building all these new lands, all these new rides that we're asking them to build to combat with Epic Universe. It's going to take forever. By the time that Disney opens up any sort of meaningful answer to Epic Universe, Universal will already be on the next thing. And that was exactly what happened with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. By the time that Disney answered with Pandora and Galaxy's Edge, it was already too late. Universal had already made up a ton of ground and had a ton more major projects in the pipeline that they were able to pay for using the money that they got from building the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. And it's going to be the same situation when it comes to Epic Universe. So this reactionary approach, you're just setting yourself up for failure once again. But to be fair, us as consumers do kind of benefit, I guess, if Disney is able to build new stuff in general, because like I said, corporate right now has no interest in reinvesting in the parks, despite the fact it's the only thing keeping the company afloat. Like, if you're on Disney's side in this war, I actually feel bad for you. Like, your side is just not fighting for you at all. They don't care. They literally don't care. They will sacrifice the parks division just so that way they can make more movies at $200 million budgets for no reason, even though they don't make enough money in the theatrical window because they screwed them over with the streaming that made people not want to go to the theaters anymore because they watch movies at home for free. Like, not even kidding, if you were on Disney's side in this war, you should be rooting for Disney to be bought out by some larger corporation like Apple. Right? You should be hoping for that. Because if that happens, guess what? The parks division is going to be spun off. Disney's too big of a company as it exists today to be completely bought out and absorbed by another organization, especially one as big as Apple. But if Apple were to come in, they'd likely keep the studio business, they'd likely keep the streaming part of the business, and pretty much everything else will get spun off. So, hey, that means the parks get to operate on their own, and all that money they're making goes straight back into the parks. That billions of dollars that are hitting the bottom line every year for the parks division, that right now is getting funneled into these money-losing businesses, gets to go back into the parks. And then Disney can actually start to compete with Universal in the parks game in a meaningful level. Right now, Universal is just kicking them while they're down, and Disney just can't do anything. They can't throw a punch back. So until either the parks division gets spun off or Disney gets new leadership, we're just never going to see the Disney parks actually fight back here. And eventually, it's going to become too little too late, and Universal's just going to steamroll them into the top spot. And it's going to be kind of sad to see, to be quite honest. So great update today for those of you supporting the Universal cause. I salute you. For those of you who are supporting the Disney cause, I'm sorry for your loss. Go get them next time, champ. And anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that Universal Studios Great Britain is going to have a major impact on Disney? Do you think that Disney is going to start responding in a major way prior to Epic Universal, or if they're just going to be caught back on their heels once again? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Love to hear what you have to say, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.